Yo, what's good, y'all? It's your boy Zoetic, and we back with another episode of the Grain of Salt Show. Now, I know this is a little bit different than what we usually do. Usually I got either my boys, my boys from 5D here with me, but, everybody's got busy lives, man, and, a podcast is very time consuming. So we're going to go ahead and rock the next few episodes by myself, man, and we're going to see... just exactly what the show can turn into next year. I may want to do some sit downs with some local artists, some indie artists, and we'll see what we can do, But for now, we're just gonna go on the fly with it, man. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in, man. This is episode 30, I believe. The last episode that we did was our New York City special, filmed out there in New York City, man. In Manhattan at WTF Media Studios, man. It was just such a beautiful setup, man. It was really, really dope, man. It was definitely a standout episode of the pod so far. Shouts to my boy Tony Toe Tags, man. I definitely want to try to do something like that again in the future. So we'll see what the future of the Grain of Salt show holds. I'm gonna continue trying to do this once a month because this is a really just cool thing for me to document my music and just document all the new music that I'm into and shit that comes out. So I appreciate y'all for tuning in. Let's go ahead and dive in a little bit into what I want to talk about. I do, of course, as you guys know, man, this whole year it's been all about my brand new album, In Plain Sight, the new R&B album that I put out, presented by Fifth Dimension Studio. Man, just so much hard work went into it. I'm so proud of it. I'm so happy that I was able to execute what I was able to execute, and there's still so much more to come. I mean, so far, if you scroll through the YouTube channel, you could just see all the different stuff that I've done so far. As far as just, I did a lyric video, I did a little special performance here. I broke down the whole album. That's something that I definitely want. If you're tuning into this right now and you haven't checked out the album breakdown, please check out the album breakdown. I really got in depth about just how I wrote these songs, the inspirations, how I put them all together, and just, exactly like just a real music nerd technical breakdown type of, if you're into that kind of things, you want to know a little bit behind the process of how I put together the entire album. I went track for track and broke down, production and writing and lyrics and recording and mixing and inspirations, as I said earlier. Man, that's a really cool video. I think it's kind of slept on in the whole recent stuff I've been doing when it comes to YouTube and when it comes to the album. So please, if you haven't checked that out, please, I want you to give that a watch, man, because it gives you a whole new perspective of what the album is and the messaging of it. And when you go back and listen to the album after you watch that breakdown, I think it gives you a little different, you might come away with something different from the album when you get a little bit more context to it. So please check that out if you guys haven't. Of course, I haven't even done an official music video yet. So next year you can definitely check and expect for, just more stuff. Whether it's music videos, I want to do some performances. We'll see what we could do with it. The options are just so... It's unlimited at this point. I really feel like I can do anything, especially with this album, the things that I tried to do with it and the things that I still want to do more with it. It's definitely been a long process of not just creating it and putting it, releasing it out, but just putting together all of this stuff to kind of put more legs on the album and just give more perspective and more meaning. Like I said, whenever I'm listening to stuff and I'm listening to an album and I'm getting really, really into an artist, I might go and watch an interview, or I might, whatever they do, they might do a podcast, or they might have a YouTube series. I definitely, the album breakdown definitely was inspired by what Jameson is doing on his channel too. What he does is he'll go live every week and he'll talk about something different from his album, but specifically he has these segments where he goes in and he just literally shows you like the project file of the song, so he might go into what he did with production. There might be some muted tracks where some stuff he just didn't roll with on the release version, but he'll kind of show you exactly just how the song was made and how it was put together and recorded and written and produced. So that was really the main inspiration behind that. So I definitely I love that video, and I just love the new perspective that it gives to the album, man. It's really dope. So I appreciate everybody supporting everything that I've been doing so far. This has all been a labor of love, man. It's hard work. It's definitely time consuming, but I love this shit, and I love just what it does for the album. Like I said, it just provides so much more context, and I just think that when you go back and listen more, you're just able to pull away more every time you listen to it. So that's the way that I listen to music. That's what kind of fan I am of music. So that's kind of what I want to do with not just this project, but every project going forward. I think they even past projects, they've deserved what I'm kind of doing now, what I'm trying to do. Because like I said, I'm still not nowhere near done with the things that I want to do within plain sight, but I'm definitely ready to start creating music again. So that's something to look forward to. What I want to say next is please, and this has been something that I've been really bad at. So if you're watching this, please bear with me. I'm sorry about this, but I'm just doing so much that it's so hard to keep up with all of this. But I think what I need to do from now on and going forward is I need to emphasize what I'm doing on the Patreon page. There's so many different versions of this podcast, right? I mean, you got the video version that goes on to YouTube. You got the audio version that goes on to Spotify. But what I haven't done a good job of is promoting what I have done, right? So if you go to like the Spotify page or even the YouTube page, I think the only iterations that you can find, the only episodes of this podcast that you can find are the ones that I've done this year. And what I haven't done a good job of is telling you guys that on the Patreon page, there's so much more. Like I have put the entire back catalog of the Grain of Salt show on there. So back before this year, when I kind of turned this into a podcast, this used to just be a radio show. Where I was just playing music, just playing shit that I was into. I wasn't really talking much. I was just kind of listing off what I was playing and playing it. And then it kind of morphed into what it is now, where we're sitting down and having conversations. But those episodes are really cool, man. Especially if you're looking for new music or music that is like within the past 5-10 years, I definitely was just putting together some really good, I guess they're not really DJ sets. They're just kind of set lists of music that I would talk about, or the music that I was into. And keeping with that tradition, what you can find, as I said, this new iteration of the podcast, you can find extended versions of these episodes where we actually do play music that is spoken about on the podcast. And I haven't done a good job of saying that on the actual podcast, because sometimes it's just kind of an afterthought. But please, if you guys are interested in not only listening to the music that we're talking about on this podcast, but if you're just interested in the history of what this show is, like I said, I just kind of was playing music, and that's something that I would like to do in the future, as far as like, just playing music and putting playlists or set lists together. I really, really enjoy doing that. So if you're interested in listening to some weird obscure music, I would do themed shows, so I might do hip-hop shows, R&B shows, alternative rock shows, and I would just try to switch it up. It was a really cool thing that I was doing. And so please check out the back catalog of the Grain of Salt show only on my Patreon page, patreon.com/zoetic5d. That is at the gold tier, where you can get the back catalog of the podcast and the extended episodes of the new podcast, where we're actually playing music just like we did in the old days. So that was one thing I felt like I wasn't doing good enough of, like, promoting and telling you guys about. It's kind of just like whoever is there. And I appreciate everybody who is definitely checking that out, because there is some people. So thank you guys so much. Please check out that Patreon page. And not just that, but man, we got exclusive projects on there, and my whole digital discography. And there's just so much more that I want to do on there. So please check that out. I guarantee you will not be disappointed. There's hours of content there. So check it out. And so you guys know how I do it, man. I'm gonna try to wrap up this pod, you know, a little bit quicker than usual because, you know, it's just by myself, and I want to try to keep this, you know, a little bit shorter when I'm by myself. So I just want to talk about some new music since like the last pod was beginning of October. So now we're here at the end of November. There's been so much music coming out, you know, whether it's albums or singles. So I just wanted to kind of list off some of the stuff that I'm listening to lately and some of the stuff that's standing out to me, albums and singles. So let's go ahead and get into it. First off, what I want to talk about is BeMyFiasco from Foreign Exchange. You know what I'm saying? Fonte and Zoe over there, they're really... They put together a really solid project for BeMyFiasco, man. It's just really dope R&B stuff, you know, more of the traditional route, but with a little, you know, kind of just a new flavor. It's definitely dope, man. I'm loving it. She has an incredible voice. Songwriting is dope. Production is dope. So, man, if you guys are checking for some new R&B, please check that out. We got new Badbadnotgood. If you're not familiar with Badbadnotgood, I believe it was a trio. Now it's 4 dudes, and with this new album particularly, they have Arthur Verocai doing string arrangements on there. And you know, if you know anything about Arthur Verocai, you know he's just a super incredible string arranger. He's got albums I think from the 70s that are just really dope. He was also all over the latest Hiatus Coyote album that came out earlier this year. So he's definitely got his ear to the new musicians and to what's really the real. I mean, Badbadnotgood and Hiatus Coyote. I mean, if you know anything about those 2 bands, you know that they're super incredibly musically inclined stuff, man. It's just beautiful jazz music, man. And I think especially today in 2021. I don't think that's really something that a lot of people, it's a very pocketed niche market, you know, but if you're looking to just vibe out to some dope jazz music, please listen to that new Badbadnotgood album. Shit is very dope. We got a new Joelle album. I think it's Falarin 2. Now, I was excited about this particularly because Falarin 1 is definitely one of my favorite Joelle mixtapes. I mean, that dude I think it came out, 2013? And it's just got so many dope vibes on there and just dope production, and he's rapping his ass off on there. This new one is cool. It's cool, you know what I'm saying? I definitely haven't loved Walle's recent work as much as I used to love. Like, I would say probably up to 2015 is probably when I was like, all right, this is kind of, you know, I really liked all his mixtape stuff, all the stuff that he was doing there, and I feel like he's always had label frustrations and label problems, so the albums aren't always something that he doesn't love them, and you can kind of hear that, you know what I'm saying? I think his mixtapes definitely show a little bit more, but there's a couple of dope jams on this new one that I definitely came away with that I was like, okay, man, you know, Joelle is always going to give you that dope rap and dope lyricism, you know. It's just sometimes the music or the hooks or just, you know, it's a little bit too much for me. So the new Joelle album, it's okay. New Terrace Martin, Drones. Now this was cool, you know what I'm saying? I've been a fan of Terrace Martin's for a long time. You know, jazz musician. He does a lot of different production, but I know he specializes in the saxophone. And this album is cool, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely not bad, but I think with my standards, especially for Terrace Martin, you know, my favorite album of his is Velvet Portraits, and that album is just so, I don't know, I feel like with this album he's just trying to do more, you know what I'm saying? Whereas with Velvet Portraits, it's kind of just regular songs, you know. It's very R&B focused, the jazz, you know, with the jazz fusion, jazz spin on it. And I think I wanted more of that from this project, and I didn't really get all of that, but it's still a dope project, you know. It's definitely not bad in any way. Terrace Martin, Drones, if you're into that West Coast with a little bit of jazz flavor, it's definitely a dope listen. So, you know, I definitely wouldn't recommend, I wouldn't not recommend it. So it's pretty dope. New J Diggs. Now this dude right here, I think he went viral for he did like a 80s R&B funk remix to WAP. I think it was back in 2020. And that shit was just dope. So I followed this dude, and he's kind of gained a little bit of more of a following since then. And he does a little bit more. He's done a couple more of those weird like remixes where he'll take a new like rap song and he'll just put like a little 80s spin on it, and it's pretty cool. He put out a new album. It's called Jams, and man, this dude, I think he's a bona fide hitmaker, man. I think if you were to plug these productions and songwriting, if you were to plug it with like maybe The Weeknd or whatever, plug any pop star in there, and I think they would come away with a couple of hits with this dude, man. So this dude, he's got dope production, dope songwriting. It's very, it's very Leon Silvers, Jimmy Jam and Terry Lewis, that type of old school early 80s funk and R&B. He's got a couple of, like I said, just pop bangers on there too. So man, I really hope Jay Diggs gets more recognition for this album, because that shit is really dope, man. He's been doing a lot of dope promotion stuff with it. He made like an old school 80s like telemarketing type of shit, man. It was dope. It was a dope little production, man. So shout out to Jay Diggs, man. Something else that I heard recently, I believe he's a producer by the name of ROMderful, and I think he's from the UK. He put out a new album it's definitely super weird, you know what I'm saying? It's definitely on the experimental kind of weird alternative R&B side. It's definitely very Neptunes inspired, I would say, but it's a really dope concept album. He got dope vocalists on there. I think Fonte and BeMyFiasco make a couple appearances on there, and it's a really dope album. If like I'm saying, if you're in a little weird mood, you want to hear some kind of weird, more leaning on the R&B, a little bit of hip hop on there, that shit is pretty dope. New album from Joell Ortiz called Sincerely Yours. Man, I really enjoyed this project from Joell, man. He's been on a pretty good run for the past few years, man. 2018 started with Mona Lisa with Apollo Brown, man. That was kind of when I was like, okay, like this is a really dope album. That was one of my favorite albums of that year. And since then, he's just been putting out solid projects. He did a collaboration with Crooked Eye. He did the album called Monday. And now this album here, man, he's just getting real introspective, very mature, very like just grown man topics and subjects, but he's still Joell, man, still giving you the sharp elite lyricism, the bars. He always comes with it, man. Production is really dope too. I'm just feeling it, man. I'm really feeling that album's good quality rap music, man. So if you check it for that, man, his mellow music, his run with mellow music has been really dope. And the last album that I want to talk about is this new Silk Sonic project that came out a couple of weeks ago. Obviously, probably one of the most highly anticipated projects of the year. I was definitely anticipating it, especially after Leave the Door Open came out. That first couple months when that thing was just scorching on fire. And it's still a quality record, man. They put out a couple of singles after that. They put the Skate record out. I really wasn't feeling that. Still not feeling that. In the context of the album. But the third single, Smoking Out the Window, that kind of gave me a little more hope again. I was like, okay, this is a little more of what I want to hear. Whereas Skate was just like super poppy. So as far as the album, now that we got it, I've listened to it a few times, probably more than a few times, a handful of times, because they kept it short, thankfully. It's like 30 minutes. And it is, 9 tracks? 9 tracks, one of them is an intro. So really 8 tracks. Out of 8 tracks, I'll probably skip probably 2. You know what I'm saying? I could probably do without 2 of those joints on there. 777, it's 777 and Skate, man. Those 2 songs to me, and they put them back to back on the album. So to me, that screams like, these are our huge pop singles that we're really trying to go somewhere with. And it's cool, man. I think for Anderson .Paak, it's definitely a dope look because the dude has been on his grind for a long time. He's super talented and he deserves all the attention that he can get. But personally, especially when you're, you've been a fan of his for so long and you're familiar with stuff like Malibu and No Worries, I don't think this is really the direction that I personally wanted to hear from Anderson .Paak. You know what I'm saying? I love Bruno Mars, but I think sometimes he tends to just take it a little too poppy. You know what I'm saying? It's just a little too much. But that's his thing. You know what I'm saying? He's very shimmery, very shiny, clean pop dude. That's what he is. You know what I'm saying? But personally, that's not what I want from Anderson .Paak. So I felt like a lot of this album was definitely I don't know. I've heard people say the opposite, but for me, this album sounded like this was Bruno's next album. You know, he had all the songs together, and somebody, I don't know, maybe put it in his ear and was like, yo, man, you should do it with this guy because he's hot. He's next. You know, he's got next. This dude is dope. And I feel like he just kind of plugged Anderson in the songs where he could fit. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is not a sound I would hear from Anderson .Paak himself. You know what I'm saying? Like Fly definitely had elements of that, you know, with some of the rapping stuff and just kind of how, you know, how pimpish it kind of sounded. That's more so his sound. But I just feel like some of this stuff is just like not him. You know what I'm saying? I think Leave the Door Open is dope. You know, it definitely sounds like him. And Smoking Out the Window is definitely something that I could hear him doing. But the rest of it is just like, man, I don't know. I think overall, it's a good project. It's not a bad project. But my main takeaway from this is that I just want another No Worries album, man. You know, I need Anderson .Paak and Knowledge to get back together and give us another one of those just beautiful underground, you know, just dusty backpacker loops, man. Like that's what I want from him, you know what I'm saying, at this point, you know. And like I said, I want him, think he deserves everything, you know what I'm saying, as far as attention and fame and money and shit. And that's definitely what this album's gonna do for him. But man, just give me No Worries too, basically. So next up, I want to talk about a few more singles before we wrap up here. Kaytranada put out a little 3-pack, man. It's really dope. It's got her, it's got Makami, and who else was on that joint? Thundercat. Yeah, man, dope little 3-pack. Kaytranada for me is one of those like automatic artists. Like that dude puts anything out, that's an automatic play for me. You know what I'm saying? Because the dude, he's just been so consistent with it. You know, even before, you know, his debut album came out in 2016, which is a classic to me. But even before that, man, just on the SoundCloud scene and all the selection stuff and just, you know, all that old school underground stuff where even before he was Kaytranada, the dude has just been so consistent. And he's another one that just deserves everything. You know what I'm saying? Deserves everything coming to him. Man, that 3-pack is heat. It's nothing but heat on there, man. There's not a bad song on there. A couple more singles, man. We have Earl Sweatshirt with, I believe it was Navy Blue, who he just did the last Wiki album. The single is called 2010. Man, that shit is fire, man. That's definitely a sound that I would like to hear more from Earl. I hope him and Navy Blue got an album coming because, like I said, Navy Blue, the dude's just on fire right now. And Earl, you know, over the past few years, he's kind of lost a little bit of his luster, man. And I kind of hear some hunger in this single, man. So I really fuck with it. We got new Freddie. He's got a new Freddie Gibbs. He's got a new joint with Jadakiss called Black Illuminati. That shit, they just bar the fuck out on there, basically, man. And that's really, when you see those two names together, man, that's all you want, you know. You don't need no fucking radio single or nothing like that. You just want to hear some bars, and that's exactly what they give you. And the last song that I want to talk about, man, that was really surprising to me, not surprising but not surprising, is this new single from Moray and Benny the Butcher, man. Like, you know, I had heard Moray a few months back, you know. He had a single that was really hot this year, and he had put out that album, and everybody was talking, and, you know, I heard people talking about it, but I just hadn't checked it out. I liked the single, but I just didn't check out the album. And then when he showed up on the J. Cole album, you know, the My Life feature and stuff, you know, he's just got such a soulful voice, man. And I was like, okay, I like this dude. But seeing that he put out a single with Benny, I was like, okay, this isn't really, you know, that's not really a combination that I would make. So let's check it out. I would go into it. And man, and look, you guys know I love Benny, man. I love Griselda, you know, that's automatic right there. But Moray just went stupid on that shit, man. Like he was rapping like his life depended on it on that album, man. And that's the type of shit that I like to hear, man. But he's also just got this very soulful, like melodic gospel, you know. It's a dope spin on a new style, you know, because it's still, you know, it's got the trap beat, it's got the hi-hats, you know, it's a very modern sound. But just what he's doing is just, oh, that soulful gospel singing, but he's rapping too, and he's spazzing. You know, his flow is crazy on that one, man. And I really was not expecting that from him on that track, man. But I guess, you know, he must know what Benny's about, man, because that's what Benny does, man. Benny just, you know, he rips every verse he does. So to hear Moray come out swinging like that, man, I really got excited. You know, I was like, damn, man, I might want to hear, you know, what his next album is checking for if he's rapping like this. So that's really gonna wrap it up for the new music segment, and I guess for the whole episode 30 of the Grain of Salt show, man. I don't know. I have written down here Grammys with a question mark because, you know, they just made the announcements of all the nominations, and I don't know, just my thoughts towards the Grammys have been very, you know, if you know me, you know that I'm very not with the Grammys. But that doesn't mean that I don't root for somebody who makes that their goal. You know, if you've made a goal for yourself and you decided that a Grammy is part of that, then, you know, more power to you. And if that's something that you strive for, you know, I'm all for people making goals for themselves and just getting that shit. I love that. But me personally, when it comes to just music and the appreciation of music and how much I love music and how, you know, sacred this shit is to me, you know, I'm really against the politics of what, not just the Grammys, but what award shows are. You know, I mean, the Grammys have never fully represented what is most important on the music scene. You know, it's politics, it's relationships, it's who you know, it's promoting, it's marketing, it's labels, it's playing that game, you know. And like I said, for whoever wants to play that game, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? There was a time where I didn't feel like that. You know, there was a time where I was definitely against that type of shit. But like I said, just growing older, growing a little bit more mature, and realizing, you know, people have different goals and things that they want to achieve. And if the Grammys are a part of that, then that's cool. But me personally, I think it's just been it's something that we've learned, right? It's something that as a musician, if you're trying to get into this industry, trying to get into this business, a Grammy is like the top validator of what that is. You know what I'm saying? But if you really look back at the most impactful, the most important artists, you know, Big don't got a Grammy, Pac don't got a Grammy, you know, Bob Marley don't got a Grammy. You know what I'm saying? I don't even think Marvin Gaye got a Grammy when he was alive. You know what I'm saying? So it's like he might have got a lifetime achievement joint or something. You know what I'm saying? But you know, they've snubbed Prince a bunch of times. Like it's just been, I don't fuck with the Grammys, man. But like I said, to anybody who enjoys that, to anybody who makes that an achievement of theirs, more power to you. You know what I'm saying? I tip my cap to anybody who's out there chasing their goals, and that's really what it's all about. So that's my thoughts, man, on the Grammys, and that's been another episode of the Grain of Salt show. I really appreciate y'all tuning in, man. Like I said, we're going to go forward with a new format, and we're going to see where this takes us. So I just appreciate you guys tagging along for the ride. Please check out the YouTube channel, the Patreon page, the Bandcamp page, Spotify, Apple Music, Tidal. Please check me out on Tidal. And please check out the extended version of this episode and past episodes of the Grain of Salt show. I'm going to play some of the music that I talked about here so you guys get a little bit more context of what I'm talking about. Patreon.com/Zoetic5D. I'll see y'all next time. Peace.